Well, welcome everyone to Demystifying How to Create a Coaching Culture. My name is Shawna Simcik. I am currently the SVP of Leadership Development here at Keystone Partners, and I am joined by my amazing colleague, Erin Joyner. We as people, it never fails that within the first couple minutes, people are still coming in. So I'm going to go ahead and go to the next slide, because today we're going to, rather than me saying, go ahead and put your phone down, I'm actually going to say, please pick up your phone. We're going to make this webinar a little bit more interactive than normal. So go ahead and use your phone, pick up that phone, scan that QR code if you can. If you're going to be able to participate with us on the webinar today. So I'm so thrilled that each of you are with us. Again, if you're just joining us, we are going to make this a really fun and interactive webinar. So go ahead and use the QR code, get scanned in, give us a thumbs up, let us know that you're here. And welcome as we're going to dive deep into creating coaching cultures. And finally, Keystone Partners offers a slew of webinars. In fact, we have a series of webinars that we offer every single month. And so watch your emails. You'll be getting another one. We offer these complimentary every single month. And next week, I think, Erin, we're talking about coaching again. But we also talk about development. We talk about women in leadership. We talk about career transition and exit interviews. We have a whole slew of topics that we bring up. So perfect. All right, everyone. So welcome in. The Mentimeter we'll still have people flowing in. That'll stay at the top of our screen as we move on, but stay with us. I want to make sure it's working well. So let's make sure it's working well. Grab that phone. If you won the lottery, what are you going to do with the money? You're gonna throw a party where me and Erin are invited? That'd be great. Go on a lovely vacation, beach or otherwise. Build that dream home you've been thinking about, or give the money to charity. Let's make sure it's working. Oh yeah, we've got people coming in. This is great.
Where's retire? And that's not on your list, Shawna.
Right? That should have been number one. That would be the most highly rated. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe not. People love it.
But there's someone practical. Put it in savings. That's what my husband would make me do.
There you go. Erin, I'm not digging it though. No one's inviting us to a party.
That's okay.
It's all right. It's all right.
It's all right. We're strangers.
All right. It's working. So glad it's working. Now let's go to the topic at hand. We're actually here to talk about coaching. We're here specifically to talk about coaching cultures. So I hope to goodness you're on the right webinar. Mentor's going to give you an option. Erin and I would love to hear from you. What words do you associate with coaching? Again, I think Mentimeter gives you a couple options. So you can put in one word, you can put in 2, 3. What words do you associate with coaching? Oh, some good ask, development, feedback, seeing support a few times. I bet that one gets bigger. Give us your one word. Yeah, if you're just joining us, you're a few minutes behind on our webinar. We are using the Mentimeter. So there's the code in the chat. You can also join at the top. It's got the link to go to and our code to jump in and join our webinar and contribute. I'm thinking development and feedback, support, growth.
Yeah, look at that.
Oh, good. Empathy. I was a little worried. Empathy on the list. Succession planning, that one's unique. I like continuous improvement, reflection, retention, transformative. Absolutely. Great words. Again, if you're late to the webinar, the join menti.com at the top and our code, it's also embedded within our chat. We love to make our sessions interactive. So thank you so much. These are really great. Empathy's getting bigger. That makes my heart happy. Leadership, listening, ability. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, Erin.
That's great.
Define
awesome. No, perfect opening. So, I mean, and as expected, you all are saying all the words that we would hope and that kind of align with how we think about coaching. So first and foremost, before we get into our agenda and we start talking about a coaching culture, we really just want to level set, make sure that we're all on the same page with the definition of coaching. And I should introduce myself, should have done that earlier, but I am the head of the Center for Executive Coaching, which Keystone recently acquired in the last year, and which is a company that is focused on providing training programs for those interested in pursuing executive coaching, either maybe as an internal skill set at an organization or externally as a practitioner. But we also do a lot of coaching, a lot of training with folks who want to just develop more coaching skills. So that's the division of Keystone I represent. And so our definition of coaching is naturally a little bit focused on executive coaching, but I think it certainly still plays, right? So coaching is a series of high impact, powerful conversations that enable people to sustain and performance improvement, right? And I love this, and I love that it came up right away. Somebody said ask, somebody said listening, because powerful coaching is listening and guiding, whereas sometimes we can feel like it's maybe more directing and, you know, hopefully not correcting, but sometimes, right? So that's how we think of coaching. And that's really like a one-on-one or a few low number to low number ratio, right? That's a conversation. But when you look at a coaching culture and thinking about how you define a coaching culture, it goes much bigger than that. So we think about this in terms of an environment. And a coaching culture is an environment where certainly coaching conversations happen, but it's more like where every level of the organization is focused on the growth of the individuals and creating an environment where people seek feedback, share feedback constructively, act with empathy, have a daily impact through meaningful conversation. So it's more a state of the organizational being as opposed to, you know, a one-off conversation or a very, you know, specific thing between individuals. So I'm seeing some thumbs up, which makes me feel like good. We're all on the same page. So now that we're kind of all got the same definition, let's go into our objectives for today. We wanted you to take away 3 different things today. So this is how we're structuring our webinar, and hopefully it's helpful to you. The first objective is to help you probably already see this, but maybe help other people see that there truly is a business impact to not having a coaching culture. A lot of times it can be difficult to articulate how something so subjective or intangible can actually impact a top or bottom line of an organization, but it really does. And there are ways that you can demonstrate that. So that's a key topic for us today. The second thing we were going to cover and we want to help you with is just the idea that there are many, many ways to create a coaching culture. And a lot of you probably have great ideas that we haven't even thought of. So when we get to that section, would love to have you share some of the things that you've already seen work. And then last but not least, we want to give you some insight into how Keystone can help you pursue that coaching culture goal, if we would be so lucky to do so. But I think, Shawna, we should start with a story, because who doesn't like a story?
That's absolutely right. I always, for anybody who knows me, I love a good story. I love a good story time. Maybe it's my kids, but I want to talk about a restaurant. Okay, so there is a restaurant down the block from us, and we hadn't. It's somewhat new, last couple months, right? But we hadn't been there recently or at all. And so we decided to get our family together. And if you've got kids like I do, sometimes it's a big event is to get them together and go to a local restaurant. So my husband and I and the kids, we all arrive. And if you can put yourself in the restaurant with me, we get there, we're sort of standing there like nobody's really greeting us. What do we do? Where do we go? Finally, the host walks up, greets us, and I use the words maybe is somewhat mean, less hosting.
Not hostessy.
Hostessy, there you go. We asked for kids menus, we get over to the table, forgot the kids menus, and you know how important those crayons are. So we're just like, what's going on? Like, this isn't feeling great. Okay, level set. Waitress comes out and bit aggressive, very direct, again, not very warm and welcoming, ends up missing parts of our order, completely misses. We asked for a couple refills, got to get the refills of the drinks. She misses the refills of our drinks. I mean, at this point, it's just like a little comical, like, this is really bad. Like, what's going on, right? And the food's okay, like, not great, okay. And so we leave, and my husband and I go, oh, like, we're not going back. That was awful. And I start to like dwell on it because it's what I do. And I like, you know what, I got to tell my friends and family. I end up telling the neighbors, like, well, yeah, we tried that restaurant. It wasn't very good, right? We tell our friends, we tell our families. And I'm not this kind of person, but some people would even jump on the Google and the Yelp and be like, horrible experience, right? So give me a thumbs up if you can relate to that experience. I think we've all been in that type of restaurant. Yeah. So, okay, we're feeling
We're feeling it. We're feeling it. And it sounds like, this waitress probably had, my immediate assumption would be, gosh, bad training, right? Bad hire, bad training, right?
Sure. That's one way of looking at it. Now, what's really unique about this, Erin, is I can actually peel this onion back because I know the family. I know the waitress, and I know what's kind of going on, right? So it's kind of fun. I can peel this back. And so again, put yourself in this. So the waitress is a student. She works during the day. She goes to school at night. She's going to work that day and she forgets her books. She's like, oh man, oh shucks, I got to go back. I got to get my books. So she's running just a few minutes late, not big time, like 5-10 minutes, something like that, runs in late. Her manager, who has had very little training, just follows the complaints and says, listen, Erin, you've been late. I can't believe you're late. I'm writing you up. If you do it again, you're out. Like no explanation, no asking, none of that. And peel it back even further. She's actually going to school for a hospitality restaurant. So she's got all these really cool, innovative ideas about how to do things different and what could be more unique to support the customers and buy more, et cetera, et cetera. And then she also really likes the company and the name brand. And so she wants to stay with them. She would love to grow with this organization and maybe move to corporate, which is up, downtown, et cetera, et cetera. So I know a lot about this. Instead, what's ending up coming out at the customer level is she's these are buzzwords, right? By the way, right? Highly disengaged. She is very angry, no promotion, no growth, no opportunities, no empathy, no understanding. And it's starting to filter into the way that she treats the customers. And oh, by the way, it's happening with all the team members because the hostess felt the same way, right? So could you imagine, now everybody put your imaginary hat on. So that's the real circumstance, imaginary hat, is what if they had more of a coaching culture? What if that manager, when she shows up late, says, oh my gosh, Erin, are you okay? You're never late. Approaches it right, empathy, understanding. Like, are you okay? Is everything all right? Oh my gosh, I forgot you've got school tonight. How exciting! That's great. Hey, I'm gonna hold you accountable. Like, don't make it a habit, but I get it. And oh, by the way, I'm having a one-on-one with you every single week because I care and I want to know about your career progression. And I heard you're going to school for hospitality. Do you want to stay here? Do you have any really cool, innovative ideas that we can send up to corporate in the food and beverage department? Right? These conversations and what it looks like for her as a waitress in our, in this restaurant could look and feel very different. So then she's treating us with respect and excitement, and she's hopping to it, and she's given her discretionary effort for my experience to be even better. Had my experience been better, what does that translate to? I'm showing up for more dinner, right? I'm taking my family, I'm taking my friends, I'm telling the neighbors how
telling other people, right?
Right, exactly. So, okay, that was a very long story to say, sometimes it can be very difficult to prove out, Shawna, how in the world Erin, how in the world does coaching relate to the bottom line? And all you have to do is take a little story, such as a restaurant, take it in your own business, for example, and go, okay, what's our customer experience when things are not going well, when our managers don't have the skills, when our culture is not about coaching and developing? Does that make sense?
Yeah, makes sense to me. We've all had that experience, right?
Yes. Yeah. Oh, good. I'm getting some thumbs up. So everyone's feeling it too. Now, I get it. There are some, what might I say? There are some leaders who say, show me the data, show me the numbers. And I get that. Certainly there are countless, and this is only 4 or 5 here. There are countless numbers of studies out there that will prove to you that coaching has a direct impact on bottom line. Everything from quality, satisfaction, creativity, and innovation. I mean, this one in particular just always stands out to me. 788% ROI. Sometimes when I read something like that, I think to myself, that can't be true. That absolutely can't be true. But then you tell the story of the restaurant, you're like, that could be true. Depends on how many friends and family I have, right? It absolutely could be true. So I could go on and on and on. I'm seeing some thumbs up. So you all are agreeing with me. If you've got the CFO that says, show me the hard data, show them the data, but also tell the story. Tell about how it shows up in your everyday environment. Okay, back to you all. I want to talk a little bit more about the reality. I want to build on this idea of ROI and talk about the reality of today's leaders. So please tell me, do you believe, pick up your phones again, and if you're not on Mentimeter yet, it's at the top of the screen here. Join Mentimeter, it's also in our chat. Tell me, do you believe the job of the leader is more difficult today than it has been in the past? Let's hear from all of you. maybe, I'm saying maybe, hopefully. So far, no one's willing to hit the no button. Hit the no button. Yes, absolutely. All right. I see a lot of people, yep, 47, we're at 48. And it just keeps going up. Well, there's the nose. I'm curious, chat in. It's not different. Thank you so much. Just a few more seconds. I know we have a lot more than just 60 people on this webinar. So again, if you're not on Menti, go ahead and log in. Code's at the top. Oh, that's pretty good. 55. So overwhelmingly, I do want to hear from the no people. I really do want to hear from them. Overwhelmingly, we believe the job of the leader has gotten difficult. And I think, Erin, you and I both absolutely 100% agree with that.
Yes.
A chance for a little open-ended comments here and hearing from your peers. Why is the role of the leader more difficult? And I think in this one, you get to a little open chat on this one, but why is the role of the leader more difficult in your opinion? Might take a second for those to pop up fast pace. Oh, Lord.
Yeah.
Things move very quickly around here.
Mm-hmm.
Internet, fast spread of information. Oh, negative and I like that ad. Negative and positive. World around us is changing.
Constant change.
We always use the word in our, VUCA. VUCA world's killing us here.
Yeah. No.
Work. That one's good. Generational dynamics. Hybrid Gen Z. Generations. That's great. Employees are less equipped with resilience. At the end, whoever wrote that, we have an incredible ebook on creating resilience in your employees. Yeah, check that one out. More holistic, more expectations, remote global workforce, mental health. Yes. Ooh, player coach model. I like that one. Is that model? Player model? Model. Oh, this is great. Doing more with less. Oh, somebody did write VUCA. Flying the plane. And we never do that. Political environment, return to work, change, diversity, remote working, economic. Absolutely. Thank you so much. This is everything, right? I mean, everything on this page.
All the things
are making the role of the leader just that much more difficult. Absolutely. Oh, and I think we had a type in, but maybe it got answered.
Yeah.
We absolutely agree with you. 120%. Everything that you mentioned is making the role of the leader that much more difficult. And I appreciate the person who wrote player coach model, because what's interesting is the role of the leader, and this is proven out through a lot of the different data, is specifically post-pandemic is much more difficult. We have moved away from a production economy where it used to be, or doing, telling, managing, directing work as it comes down the pipeline. But AI is frankly revolutionizing everything that we do. And you no longer go to your manager for answers, right? The manager, in most cases, are not put on a pedestal for their knowledge. They're not put on the pedestal because they're the SME. Frankly, we have Google for that, Erin. Gemini, all the other ones, right? We are now, we've moved to a mission-driven teams where collaboration, distributed decision-making, hero teams, not hero leaders, are really what the economy and our leadership organizational structure is like now. And so when you think about the role of the leader, it's not, I need to have the most knowledge of how to screw in the screw. I have to have the most knowledge of how to grab the best out of my employees, the collaboration. I have to figure out how to help my leaders make better decisions. So it's incredibly powerful to see the shift away from what makes a great leader and why it's so much more difficult. The second thing to make it even more difficult is, or why it's coupled, is if you take the human challenges of leadership are just simply more complex. They just are. And these are actual quotes from one of our companies, a top Fortune 50 tech company. And we asked them, what are your challenges today? So this is what they say: I'm feeling isolated from the team. I don't feel a sense of purpose in my job anymore. It sometimes feels like my colleagues man-explain everything to me. These are human things. These are, when I think about leaders managing or handling human challenges, I turn around and ask you, how well are your leaders doing? Because this is the type of one-on-one information I'm taking in, not, hey, Shawna, how do I complete that project? Which is incredibly powerful. Another reason why the job of the leader today is just so much more important, or excuse me, so much more difficult, pardon me, and important. And finally, the last one is the job of the leader is just more difficult because of the competencies that are starting to bubble up of what's radically important, right? This economy that we're in, you have to lead with creativity and innovation. You have to figure out how to bring people together to bring the very best out, to draw the best ideas out. You have to lead through help-seeking behaviors and help-giving behaviors. Again, it's about process of listening. It's a process of servicing new ideas and really supporting and helping your employees through those human challenges. And then finally is this leading for inclusivity, this idea of engaging employees. And a lot of, you said remote work or hybrid work, that sort of thing. This is even more difficult now. How do I gather, when I've got 10 or 20 people on a call, how do I make sure I'm drawing out everyone's opinions? And this isn't just about ethnicity or gender. This is about age and generations and work experience, and making sure that I'm pulling out and making everyone feel wildly inclusive, or making it a place of inclusivity, excuse me. I could go on and on about this, Erin. This stuff is so exciting. What's interesting is at the end of all this, so you listen to the restaurant story, you look at the ROI stats, you think about how difficult it is to be a leader in today's world. And what underlies all of that is coaching skills. It really is. And as you so clearly defined for us, Erin, earlier, a coaching culture is one where every person, every level within that organization possesses the characteristics of a great coach. So in essence, or in summary, coaching is just no longer a nice to have. It is a must have in today's economy. So, okay, all that information, Erin, I want to be sure that the participants actually, or the individuals on our webinar today, walk away with some real tangible tools. So why don't we go there and give them some tools?
Yeah, absolutely. I was just thinking like, oh, the practical side of me, I'm always going like, oh, that's all sounds lovely, Shawna. Right. Totally agree. How do I fight that, right? But how do you do it, right? That's sometimes the hard part. So let's get into it a little bit. Let's start though with another little interaction, because we would love to know where you all are on your journeys to creating a coaching culture. Is there some options down there? It's an idea, or we're starting to talk about it, or we're well on our way, or done. I just came here because we knew you needed attendees and we're nice. So this is, I'd love to understand that. And for those of you who are already working on this or feel like you've gotten to a good place with it, like I said earlier, would love to hear, sharing some of these ideas that you have in the chat, especially ones that, we haven't even come up with and when we talk through it. So this is great. Lots of people's just idea, we're starting, and people who are well on their way. That's fantastic. That is fantastic.
No, I like that.
Love that.
15 are well on their way. That's great.
Yeah, that's great. We need to consult with you. Yeah.
Exactly. They're the ones going to be chatting in, I hope. Chatting in with
Yeah, good. Awesome. All right. Well, delighted. Okay, so we've done, a lot of research. We talked to a lot of companies just in the day-to-day of Keystone's business across the board. And so what we have gathered here are some things that we've noticed through our own research and experiences, just different ways we have seen companies really successfully build that coaching culture. And we've picked 5. 5 of the ones that we think work really well. There are more than this. And like I said, please, share the ideas of how we can do this, because we don't have all the answers. But first and foremost, this one is, I think, this one I kind of really feel a lot of connection to for a variety of reasons. But this idea of making coaching a skill, and I bolded in all caps, and all levels of the organization bolded in all caps. And the reason this one sticks really, really, closely to me is that having been both at the assistant level in an organization and working myself up into a, executive level position, I can see how my own journey, there were discrepancies between the way I was being developed or managed when I was more of an individual contributor versus some of the resources that were often given to me, or the way I was developed as an executive, right? But someone took a lot of time with me and gave me a lot of coaching along the way. And that's part of how I ended up where I was. So this idea, you incorporating the coaching as a skill and treating it as a skill that can be learned, as opposed to it's something some people are good at and some people aren't. Well, not really. It actually can be taught. There are some very specific tools and ways of doing it. And if that becomes part of how you develop people and some of the training, for onboarding new managers or new folks into the organization, people can learn that. And this idea of practice of acting with a coaching mindset. So actually having people go through, spend 20 minutes in a team meeting practicing. Let's have a fake, let's have a mock conversation with an employee. How would you answer it, kind of thing. So first idea is it's really talking about it as a coach, as a coaching as a skill, and going into all levels of the organization as being one of the first ways that we want you to think about how to do this.
Yeah, Erin, I always use the word democratize coaching throughout the entire organization,
Yes.
right? And especially at that, and you hit this, but I'm very passionate about that frontline leader who impacts or oversees, 60 to 80% of your total population. If you're only developing the skills of your senior leader levels, it's not trickling down, right? If you want to make the greatest impact on your culture, your organization at all levels, grab that frontline leader. And the other thing I'll add is they typically are younger in their career with less bad habits to break. And so if you can grab them young, as they move up into their organization or move around into the organization, they're only going to spread that good, positive behavior of coaching. So.
Yeah.
Number 2.
Yeah. So this one's also great because I think there's always natural talent in an organization. And a lot of times an organization can look at natural talent, regardless of what the talent is, and say, oh, that person doesn't, maybe they don't need resources. They're naturally good at it. So I'll invest over here in someone who's really struggling, right? And there could be a lot of good reasons for doing that. But when you're trying to create a culture, you're effectively trying to make organizational change. And organizational change, takes a long time, but it's also very difficult to implement. And so one of the things that will work very well, no matter what change you're trying to implement, including creating a coaching culture, is finding early adopters. I think of early adopter, right? Somebody who innately believes in or has a tendency to behave the way you want everyone else to behave, and also who everyone else respects and looks up to. There are always these people in organizations. And if those are the first people we work with in an organization, we give them further coaching skills, we send them through some training, what you can see, or what you actually probably don't see for most of us, but is that, when we're back in our cubes or we're on Zoom and we're talking to each other and employees are, I have to do this coaching thing. And so, oh my gosh, that person who people respect and who's naturally good at it and has gone through the training will be like, actually, I did it. And I think it's really good. Like, this is something I learned, and I've seen that in action. And, it does make people think, okay, well, maybe, so we really encourage that. That's any type of change is really about finding folks inside of an organization who are naturally already on board, doubling down, I call it double clicking on them and making them more advocates everywhere. Also love the idea of a mentor program. We have certified leaders, but mentor programs can be great no matter what level or whether you're certified or official or not. I still call on things my mentor said to me like 15 years ago. Every once in a while in my head, it said, I can hear her, Erin, da, 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 da. And I'm like, oh, right. So it just really has an impact. So yeah, natural talent, early adopters.
2 of the comments in the question area, when we asked, what are you doing? 2 of those is accredited programs. Recently completed an accredited program, and now I coach those in my organization. And I have ICF certified coaches on team or on staff. So exactly, I don't know what roles they play in their organization, the people who commented in, but yeah, picking those early adopters, helping them get certified, helping them hone the craft of coaching can really start to, but not only, I want to push people to think, not only in the HR department though.
Yes.
right? Get out of the HR, get out of the learning and development, although radically important. I am from one. But, what other business leaders can really make an impact that have that influence? So nice. Number 3, I'll take number 3. This one may seem kind of simple, but celebrate and reward those who actually behave in the way you want them to behave with a coaching mindset. Now, as we were talking, Erin and I were putting together this presentation, and the word that she used, which I just loved, is publicize it. Make it known, right? That we're celebrating and rewarding those who've gotten coaching. I think that's one of the downsides of coaching sometimes, or maybe where the history of coaching came from, is I don't really want to talk about it. Or we do it in a one-on-one, congratulations, or we do it in a team format, but we're not looking at holistically, how are we celebrating and publicly talking about it? Erin, at Keystone Partners, we have the cause for applause award that goes out every single month in our all hands. So in front of every single person at Keystone Partners, someone gets recognized for demonstrating these types of behaviors, which is incredibly powerful. A few other companies that we know of, they very similar to us, have a monthly award. Another one highlights people in company meetings. So again, standing people up on a stage, promoting them in a different way, intranet style, team style, any of those of celebrating the type of behaviors that we want to see. And then if you want to go so far, which I really encourage you to, is embed it into some of your talent management processes. Look at things like performance goals, look at annual performance reviews. And if you can go so far as to tie it to annual incentives, you double click on that. I know it can be hard because it's a sticky behavioral attribute, but if you can go that far, you're driving that coaching culture even further into the organization. One last note, and I don't typically go negative. Erin knows this about me. I don't like to go negative, but I want you to also consider toxic employees. So these are the employees and leaders who are not exhibiting these characteristics that you're keeping around in your organization for one reason or another. Sometimes they're the knowledge, the SME, and you're afraid to get rid of them. But I ask you, why are you keeping them around? Because if they are a toxic employee that's not demonstrating the characteristics that you're looking for, that in itself says something about your culture. That if you are strong enough in something, strong enough in that subject matter, you don't have to perform in this way, which is incredibly powerful. So I'm really pushing you all outside your comfort zone to really, think difficult, having those difficult conversations with those employees.
You know what, Shawna just reminded me, I'm harkening back again to my fabulous mentor like 15 years ago, but I specifically remember being a new manager and having somebody on my team who was a problem. And I said to her, I was like, I just feel really bad, because I don't know why I meant she means well, or she, whatever. She does really good work, like at a tactical level or something, or he, it was a woman or a man. And she said, for as bad as that makes this person feel, if there's action taken, or makes you feel, think about the 20 to 30 to 50 people this person is interacting with on a daily basis, where you're in lack of action because you don't want to feel bad, or you don't want to make this person feel bad, is making their lives harder. And so every time I've had to do like a hard, less than pleasant, performance conversation, I've always thought back to that and said, like, I'm doing this more for the people who are impacted by what's going around. And I've used that example with people who report to me who struggle to have hard conversations as well. So anyway,
it's absolutely perfect.
Little tips from my mentor.
Yeah, well, those are incredible. I always think of the fruit, right? The bad fruit that's surrounded by roots. And what'll happen is instantly everything else goes bad. So, again, we're not talking about one coaching. We're talking about the culture and how is that one person impacting or affecting or infecting the culture of the organization.
Yeah.
Number 4.
Yeah, absolutely. So ironically, I started by saying democratize, do this at all levels, but there is also a reality that it's extremely effective to start at the top so that folks can lead by example, because it does have an impact, right? So we do encourage the starting at the top, investing in impactful leaders who can learn to have that coaching mindset, create more of a coaching culture through their own actions. But this is the difference. And Shawna referenced this earlier. I've experienced this, most people have. A lot of times when we provide coaching to senior leaders, we do it on the down low. And we, senior leaders don't want to talk about it. It makes them feel like, people think I need some development or whatever. But it's actually very powerful for everyone to see, like, okay, well, Erin's working on it. I guess it's not necessarily that I'm not good at it. It's that I could be better. Or, sometimes maybe even they can say like, oh, thankfully somebody's working with Erin on all of the things that she needs to work on. Right. But really like talk about it, tell people about it, and don't shy away from it. I loved our CEO at my old place would bring his coach occasionally to meetings, and I would see them after the meetings kind of, go to the side and he would say, I could see him going like, right, kind of telling him like, maybe you want to think about this, I can imagine the conversation. So
that's great.
Definitely want to encourage that, and the first one, do them both.
Yeah, well, absolutely. It's about the ripple, right? It's coming from the bottom and impacting 60 to 80% of the workforce, and you're coming in from the top, you're talking about it, and all of a sudden we're injecting coaching culture around surrounding us, which I think is incredible. Yeah. Number 5, the last one, is build it into key moments in your employee experience. And so I actually alluded to this a little bit, but last December, Keystone Partners commissioned some research on particularly around resilience in the workforce. And the summary, although I want you to download the report, the summary of that report is that we have to strategically invest in our employees at defining moments in their career. That versus sort of this always on development, that can sometimes occur in organizations, is everyone gets development, everyone has a coach in their pocket, everyone gets access to online learning. So the research really focuses on key moments. Now, when we talk about this research, or when Keystone Partners does, we talk about saying, okay, the first step you have to do is define your key moments. What are those moments in your organization? Best way to do that is actually to chart out, very similar to what a marketing person would do, the customer journey, right? You want to do the same thing for your internal employees as well. So everything from your onboarding to professional development, how they move up and around your organization. And then don't forget what I think is the most overlooked portion, which is the offboarding portion of that engagement. So again, chart out those that employee experience and identify those key moments. Once you have those key moments, I want you to ask a very key question here. That's a pun intended. What am I doing to build a coaching culture at this key moment? Is it a mentor program? Is it an executive coach from the outside? Is it a leadership, a leadership development program that has leaders coach as part of it? What am I doing to hold those individuals accountable, to support them embedding this coaching culture throughout the entire journey? So when they come on board into an organization, they know coaching is important. As they promote and develop and move around in the organization, they know coaching is important. And here's the real key, and I think this is really, some people may not agree with me here. How are you coaching that person as they exit out of the organization as well? Right? Especially in today's world where we've got this preponderance of boomerang employees. We've got companies that are going up one quarter, down another quarter, back up the next quarter, and have to retain and engage those exiting employees. Think again on the offboarding, what am I doing to build a coaching culture on the way out? So I added a few here on the slide, but things like first 100 days coaching program. Every new person at a certain level in our organization can get a first 100 days coaching program. So some different ideas of thinking through key moments in your organization. That was a lot. So we talked about the 5 different ways, right? Erin and I covered the 5 different ways. We talked about employee experience, key moments. We talked about reward and recognize. Erin said start at the top, but then democratize it across the organization.
It's all over.
That's exactly right. Just do it. And really focus on building the skill of coaching within your organization. And I even challenged you to ask specific questions and question whether or not you're keeping around the wrong type of skill in your organization. So as we wrap up here today, I want to let you know, Erin and I both want to let you know how we can help you build your own coaching culture. And it looked like many of the people who responded, Erin, were actually working on it. So maybe this might be really helpful to them. The first way in which we can support you is through executive and leadership coaching programs. So Keystone Partners is a one-stop shop for external executive coaching. We have an exceptionally robust bench of certified executive coaches, many of whom have actually held senior leader level positions in organizations, including C-suite. We do have a very, I think, a very efficient process in which we do coach matching, and we provide a return on investment by giving our leaders a real-time analytics dashboard so they can track their coaching programs with Keystone Partners. The second is by providing programs to all those levels. So when you think about democratizing, think about Keystone Partners. Specifically, we have for that frontline leader to mid-level leader, we have an accelerator program. It's a very unique program that's called Leader as Coach. We also provide an intensive 2-day session for more of a mid-level to senior leader level programs. And then finally, we do offer, I think it's a very unique coaching solutions toolkit if you're looking to build those coaching skills within your entire organization. And last, Erin?
Yeah. And that last one, the toolkit, is great because it can serve as a reference point. It's like a bunch of resources that when you're in a tricky situation, you can go back and say like, oh, what did the toolkit say? So a lot of times training goes away and you can't access it again.
Mm-hmm.
So the last one is the Center for Executive Coaching. And as I said before, we are a premier executive coach training program, but almost 40% of people who come through our programs for executive coach training actually intend and then do work as internal coaches, which we've already saw some of our attendees today talking about how they've gotten certified. It doesn't always have to be a certification, though. What we've seen is a lot of folks come through and maybe not do ICF certification, but get our Center for Executive Coaching certification. And they can go back into their organizations and serve as those coaching experts and centers of excellence for their organizations. And we train, like I said, both. We train both types of coaches. Our program is really ideal for working professionals. Most programs in executive coaching or any coach training have a very explicit start and end date, which is not very flexible. So a lot of times you have to start March 1st and you won't be done until October 30th, and you must be here twice a week for an hour, right? We blow that up and we say, look, you're adults and you're busy. So how long you take to complete, as long as you complete it within a matter of a year to 18 months, depending on which program you're choosing, you do it at your own pace. And if this week you can't get to a webinar, doesn't matter, because we're going to run the same webinar at a different time next week, maybe with different faculty, but it's constantly rolling. And you can start anytime. All of our content is modular. All of our learnings are separate. So you can jump into a middle of a faculty cycle and learn something, as opposed to having to wait till when something starts over again. So really want to emphasize how great that flexibility can be, especially for organizations and working professionals, which all of you are. And then we have several different options. We can do in-persons, we can do intensives where you learn everything you need to know in 2 or 3 days, or go at your own pace, and it's all virtual and online, like I said. And we've often customized for organizations that say, I want a blend of both. I would like 2 virtual sessions where we can practice in front of you and you can give us feedback, but I want to do the bulk of the learning kind of on demand, like the way we do our other learning development stuff. So lots of different options, and really enjoy working with folks who have a plan to do more coaching internally.
That's great. I think this wraps us up, Erin.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah. So, I guess Erin and I we're all about we're very passionate about coaching and coaching cultures. And so we wanted to be sure there was a ton of resources in here for you. You can pick up those phones. We love the QR codes. You can download the first, which is it's actually newly released. I think it's coming out tomorrow. The ROI of Executive and Leadership Coaching, which includes a build versus buy guide. There's also one, Erin, that Andrew, the member of CEC, put out, the 3 keys to success for coaching executives, leaders, managers, up and coming talent, and business owners. Very long title there. So be sure to download those. We do have a few minutes left, which is great for some questions. I think I saw one come in.
Yeah.
We have adopted a mentor program as people download our ebooks. We've adopted a mentor program so we could benefit from tips on better coaching. Oh, can't read it. Let me start over. We've adopted a mentor program so we could benefit from tips on better coaching from mentors to mentees. What's your opinion on supporting the mentors?
Yeah, so I mean, I saw that question come through, and I kind of was thinking about it. So I can take a first pass if you want, Shawna. Again, I really am into this whole mentor thing. It's going to be one of your key takeaways inadvertently that you'll walk away from this webinar with. But a lot of what organizations will do is they will establish the matching process of, oh, you will be a mentee, and this might be a good mentor for you based on, oh, Erin's a great leader or something. But what they don't do is give the mentors some actual coaching tips. And so just even a 1 hour, 2 hour session with the mentors, talking about some of the basic skills of coaching. If you've got someone in your organization, or if you can, invest in a toolkit like the one we've discussed, teaching them how to coach, because most of them they've been leaders, they've been managers, but coaching's a little bit different, especially if it's not part of the culture. So we would really encourage investing a little bit of time, even if it's an hour, 2 hours, into the mentors ahead of time so that they are prepared to really be good coaches and mentors. That would be my thinking.
I'll add to that, Erin, is making sure, as you all are thinking about your definition of a leadership, what is the difference between a mentor and a coach?
Yeah.
So we want our mentors to exhibit the characteristics of coaching, especially if you're building that coaching culture. And what's the difference between a mentor and a coach? Yeah. A mentor might, if it's a really young leader within your company, being mentored by maybe a senior executive, they might be a little bit more direct. They may be more sharing of knowledge, if you will, than a coach might be. So making sure you're defining both of those. We do have a lot more questions coming in here, so I'll want to off. If I want to create a coaching culture and anoint a leader as a coach, how do we select that individual? I think you talked a little bit about this on one of their slides, so I'll let you take that.
Yeah, no, so a couple different things. One, maybe establish a rubric of what, or at least a list of competencies or skills that you can agree make a good coach. This leader needs to exhibit these things. And then I would really look for that natural talent. If it's it's a first time, some people are better at than others. And the way to know natural talent, you can't always see someone doing like one-on-one coaching. It's usually a private conversation. But what you can do is ask people who work within the different organizations to anonymously just comment on, doing 360s or surveys of like, how does Erin rate Erin on a scale of 1 to 10 on her listening abilities, or that type of thing? Because really, it's often the people who are the recipient of those folks who can give you the most honest feedback and perspective of how well that person is performing. And you always have to make it anonymous, of course, because you want them to be honest. But those are the two things I would think about doing.
I would add bandwidth. Do they have the bandwidth to coach others in the organization? That's always right. Yeah. Natural tendencies. And then also is, and you mentioned this earlier, so I'm repeating do they have influence in the organization?
Yeah.
Are they a prominent figure, for example, that can champion and influence and touch different parts of your organization to expedite the coaching culture, philosophy, or mindset? So, really great questions. Thank you so much. Another one, topics you'd suggest as foundational coaching skill areas. You mentioned a few, Erin, empathy, listening. What else would you add to that list?
Yeah. Selfish pitch. There's an entire 2 or 3 modules on this in our training programs for coaches, but the foundations typically start with teaching someone how to actively listen and actively ask questions. So I think it's called active inquiry. It's active inquiry, I believe, in our curriculum. And that's basically training people and helping them resist the urge to give an answer versus follow up with a question. So if Shawna were to come to me and say, I can't decide, how to, I can't work with Jane, she's just really challenging. Instead of saying, well, have you tried? What active inquiry does is suggest that you ask another question and say, like, well, tell me more about where you're finding challenges. Oh, well, she doesn't listen to me. How do you know she's not listening? Like, kind of, what are the signals? And you go into this, and what you end up doing is you dig out a lot more. So that's really the foundational coaching skill, is that resistance to giving the answer right away and solving, to sitting back, listening, asking deeper questions, and going a little bit further before you maybe make suggestions. So
that's great. Yeah,
that's what I've learned from Andrew.
I think that's wonderful. Do you have any coaching that addresses new leaders that are now leading their old teammates? Oh, do we? Anonymous. I don't know who wrote that in. We, in fact, Keystone Partners has a course called Buddy to Boss for exactly that. I was a buddy, now I'm a boss, really focused on the foundational management skills that exist. And one of the elements within there is coaching. And specifically, we differentiate between managing versus coaching. And you might imagine why. At that frontline leader, you do more managing at times. You need to put this into here. You need to, especially like if you're on a line, or you need to create this spreadsheet, Erin, that kind of thing. But at what point do we enter or do we encounter coaching conversations? And so we differentiate, when might you use a managing conversation or a performance conversation versus a coaching conversation to support your employees. So yes, we love that course. I'm a big fan of that one for frontline and first-time leaders.
Yeah,
here we go. What should be budgeted toward this endeavor as we look to create a culture? If you're okay, Erin, I'll take this for a second.
Yeah, please.
Keystone Partners will be releasing some data here. I don't want to let the cat out of the bag. I don't know when. Soon. 5%. 5% should be budgeted towards the behavior change that we are looking for in our organizations, especially in this world of constant change in VUCA. So I don't know if you have anything to add to that, but there's more to come from Keystone Partners for sure.
Yeah, the only thing I would add is that, in other organizations I've been in, I've been part of assessing how much of the budget we put on this. And I would always suggest that you start with something that looks like more like a test, right? Especially if maybe people who are controlling the purse strings are sort of like, I don't know, is this going to work, right? Just say, look, let's take 5 people. Let's put these, whatever, and find a program that and feel confident can have a good impact, but is of a size of budget that's manageable. So it's not, and that's a great way to prove it out. It's like, see, this was the impact we saw. So,
yes,
that for me was always impactful when I was talking to folks who wanted to do this.
Well, and I appreciate, Erin, always your perspective. Everyone on the call here may not know your background, but you were a business leader. And yes, sometimes making, the start of our webinar today was making that case for why is coaching so important? Why is development in our organization so important? And I love your perspective is bite off a little bit, because the minute that, thinking of my restaurant experience, the minute that those customers start coming back and we start to see the ROI of that investment, it will only make your argument as a business leader that much easier and quicker. So
yes.
We probably have time for, I bet, maybe one more question. We have a lot of questions. These are really great. If we don't get to your questions, Erin and I will take the time. We'll answer those. Maybe we'll try to send those out in our email as well. But not big. But this one, okay. As a young leader who's trying to grow professionally, how do I respectfully suggest implementing more coaching and employee development in our company? I'd like to start some of this with our company, but don't know if it's my place to suggest. Your turn to mentor, Erin.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a great question. So it's always good to approach this type of thing with some humility, but also with the perspective of why it would be helpful for the organization. And so if someone were asking me this question, I would start the conversation by saying, I really think that there's a lot of opportunity for me to get better as a coach, as a manager. And I know that we have limited resources. And so I've done a little research, right? I've done a little research and I've found a few things that I think, we could just try. And I would love to be the guinea pig for that. So that does two things. One, recognizing, you're asking for something and there's, it's money there, then you get that. You're not blind to it. But two, do some of the work for people ahead of time, because coming in and saying, I think we should do some coaching, part of the no response and me as a leader is I say, well, not only does that cost money, but I don't have time to look into it. So if you bring that to me a little bit as like ahead of, I love it as a leader when people bring to me solutions that they've already thought of when they come to me with something they want or problems. Always a huge win. So that's how I would think about it. So do a little research first. Come and recognize that you're asking for something, but you tell them a little bit why you think it would be helpful. I'd like to get better at X, Y, or Z is always something people want to hear.
And I love your idea of let me try it out. Let me be the one to support the organization and it shows discretionary effort. It shows reciprocal relationship with your employer. I want to do better for the company. I want to do better for our organization. I think that's incredible. Erin, we're right at time. So
it went so fast.
One or two questions, but thank you so much for each and every one of you for joining us and for participating in the mentor. We hope that we gave you a few more tidbits to start your journey on the coaching culture. Thank you very much and have a wonderful afternoon.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.